Defend yourself against DDoS attacks by hiding your true IP address with ExpressVPN, and visit my custom link expressvpn.com/ghilliemaster in the description to find out how you can get an extra 3 months free. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another GTA Online video here on the channel. Today I want to talk about prices, how much money you're going to need for the San Andreas Mercenaries DLC. All of my estimations for pricing are based on previous DLCs as well as costs to other vehicles within the game in an attempt to get the most accurate pricing as possible for the new update, to most accurately answer that question. So to start out, let's go over how expensive the past couple of DLCs were on day one and with the drip feed content included, starting with the Criminal Enterprises DLC. On day one of Criminal Enterprises, we received 6 new vehicles and 1 HSW upgrade for an existing vehicle, the Sterling GT. One of those vehicles was a helicopter and one was also an UNEDITED vehicle, and the prices were actually pretty expensive for those vehicles, as you can see here. I am including some baseline costs for things like upgrades. For regular cars, I put a flat 800k upgrade fee to max it out, and for HSW cars, I upped it up to 1.5 million because HSW upgrades are more expensive. And for clothing, I'm also going to be using flat rates as just a general basis because clothing can vary a lot. So my estimations might be skewed a tad bit higher, but that's okay because I would rather overestimate how much you need rather than underestimate. So for clothing, just a flat rate of $1 million to get everything. And lastly, we had the precision rifle, which costed $450,000. Goodness, what a ripoff. All of that makes your day one total with all vehicles fully upgraded, all clothing, and the new gun to $21,060,000 for everything day one. Criminal Enterprises had a pretty big drip feed of 12 vehicles, technically 11 if you don't count the 2 versions of the 10F as different cars. Once again, one of them was an HSW upgradable vehicle, so we're putting the upgrade cost to 1.5 mil for that one. Then we also had the new weapon, which was free as long as you grabbed the parts for it. It wasn't made available to purchase until later, so we're going to go with that assumption of most people getting it for free if you were playing the game. And with all those extra things added together, we get a drip feed total of $26,345,000, which brings our grand total, adding up the day one costs with the drip feed costs, to $47,405,000 for everything in the DLC. Now moving on to the next DLC, Drug Wars. On day one, we got 8 new vehicles. I'm throwing the Sahoma Coupe in here too because it released a few days after the update, if I remember correctly, so it's close enough. And if you were playing day one, you most likely got that car for free because of the community reward that was going on at that time. The interesting thing about Drug Wars though is that aside from one of the vehicles being free, 2 of them were mission unlocks, the Brigade 6x6 and the Manchester Scout C. You couldn't buy those on day one, they had to be unlocked. However, the Brigade does have some expensive upgrade costs, which is why we're throwing in a more expensive 1.5 mil upgrade fee for it. We also had one HSW vehicle, the Entity MT, on day one, so that warrants another $1.5 million expense for the upgrades on that. And once again, we're using a baseline $1 million for new clothing, which brings our day one total of Drug Wars to $16,268,000. This is on the cheaper side in terms of day one content, with the 2 main reasons for that being a few vehicles are unlocks, and a couple vehicles that were on sale day one were also very cheap compared to what we were used to. The price normalizes out with the drip feed though. We had 8 vehicles drip fed to us over the months following the Drug Wars update. And these were on the more expensive side, including another HSW car. And this time I did throw in $650,000 for clothing because Rockstar did drip feed clothing to us a few times for Drug Wars. Even just last week, we got some more drip feed clothing from the Drug Wars update. Perhaps I could have made the Virtue as a free vehicle because you can unlock it for free just by doing the first and last dose missions. But since it is so expensive, I just thought I'd throw it in here just to get a more accurate representation of the most amount of money you could spend. As far as the weapons that were drip fed, the WM29 pistol and the candy cane were both event unlocks, so no cost there. The railgun, however, was quite expensive at $730,000. And we of course cannot forget about the new property that was released a few weeks after the DLC, the 50-car garage on Eclipse Boulevard. A fully customized garage I'm putting at a price point of about $4 million, and that includes the upgrades on it, which brings our drip feed total to $24,177,000 for the Drug Wars update. And finally, our grand total at $40,445,000, which is a little cheaper than other DLCs overall. Now let's make some predictions on the San Andreas Mercenaries DLC. For vehicles on day one, I'm predicting 6 new vehicles to be released. And I picked these based on what we've been shown thus far. So we have the F-35 jet or the F-160 Raiju, the Beagle plane, the Dodge Charger EV as our one mindset car, the Kanata attack chopper, the new off-road vehicle, and the new SUV. So 3 land vehicles and 3 aircraft. I think that's a good balance. The new VTOL jet I predict is going to be $6 million for a starting cost with another $2 million in upgrades for it. I think it's going to be really expensive. It might even be more than that. We're talking about a stealth jet that has VTOL capabilities and looks to be extremely fast based on the interior gauges that were in the trailer. It's not going to be cheap, trust me. The Beagle I estimate to be around $4 million with another $800K in upgrades. That seems about right for a plane these days. The Dodge Charger EV I have set at $2.2 million. That puts it right around the price of the Buffalo STX and the Omnis EGT. It's a little more expensive than the Omnis. The Kanata attack chopper I think is going to be a separate aircraft from the standard Kanata, just like how the Buzzard and Buzzard attack chopper are separate. The price of the standard Kanata is about $2.5 million, so we can only assume a weaponized variant of that is going to be a lot more. So I just put a price point of $3.4 million for this one with some hefty upgrade fees as well. The new off-roader, this one will likely be one of the cheaper vehicles in this update, so I predicted around $800,000. And finally, the new SUV, I have that set to $1.1 million. I doubt it's going to be that good performance-wise. It does look to have a good amount of customization, though. Also, in the upgrade section, I have the Avenger upgrades posted there. You're probably going to have to take your Avenger to the hangar to install the new upgrades, like the new weapon systems, and more importantly, the mission terminal. I can see the mission terminal costing like over $1 million just to have that as like a paywall to start the missions. So I have a $2 million cost estimate for all those upgrades. And maybe that's a bit overkill, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Clothing, we have the standard 1 million, and this one might be more accurate this time if we do get some military clothing. Usually that's a lot more expensive compared to just regular shirts and pants. And lastly, we can't forget about the tactical SMG. Based on other weapon prices from past DLCs, I'm going with $270,000 for the cost of this one. It's not a futuristic weapon of any kind, and it's also not a rifle, so this price point sits just below rifles that have been released, which makes sense for an SMG. And with all that brings our day one total of the San Andreas Mercenaries DLC to $26,670,000. This is on the more expensive side of things for sure, because we're talking about aircraft here, more specifically weaponized aircraft. Aircraft is substantially more expensive than regular cars. We know that from Smuggler's Run. Most of the Smuggler's Run planes were like $3 to $4 million, and that was 6 years ago. So I can see this being one of the most expensive updates in the past few years. Now for the drip feed, I'm predicting 11 cars to be drip fed to us. It's hard to make a price estimate for the same reason of we don't know how many of those vehicles are going to be aircraft and how many are just going to be regular cars. So I had to just pick a price of 1.7 million, which I would say is more so in the middle ground. And that can give some leeway if we get a vehicle that is much cheaper than that, and then we get an aircraft that's a lot more expensive than that. It can balance out and hopefully get to a nice average of around that point. All those vehicles will need to be upgraded, so I'm throwing an 800k fee per vehicle to max them out. For drip feed clothing, I'm making a bold estimate here with $1.2 million you're going to need for the clothing, and the reason for that is because of Halloween. Rockstar have stated that they have stuff planned for Halloween this year, which might mean more Halloween clothing, which they can make very costly and only available for a limited time. And for drip feed weapons, I'm predicting a Halloween style weapon to come out at $250,000 to buy. Which brings our drip feed cost prediction of the San Andreas Mercenaries DLC to $28,950,000, again on the costly side because of aircraft. And to answer the question how much money you'll need for the DLC, for day one content, I would say around 26 million, and for the drip feed, around 29 million, making the entire update to own everything and fully upgrade everything $55,620,000. And again, this is if you want to own everything possible fully upgraded, which 95% of players aren't probably going to do. If you're not looking to own everything and maybe you just want the new jet, I would probably recommend at least $20 million if you don't want to completely bankrupt yourself after buying the new stuff. Let me know what you guys think though. Are my predictions too high, too low, or just about right? Also, how much money do you have saved up for the San Andreas Mercenaries DLC? Let me know down in the comments. If you guys enjoyed the video or found it helpful, feel free to leave a like as well as subscribe to my channel for more GTA Online content. I'm gonna have plenty of guides coming out once the DLC does drop. I want to give a huge shout out to all my channel members for your support. If you'd like to become a member for some exclusive perks, you can either use the join button or the link that's down in the description. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a great day.